think that's another one of Lee's photos. I'm not real sure, but I think so. But beautiful creature. And I think we'll end with that one. Western Washington is kind of their range down into eastern Oregon.
No, I mean for a nesting pair.
Okay,
Oh.
so roughly half, it depends on densities, but they can tolerate up to a quarter mile between nests in high density areas. The study in Oregon had nests fairly close. But what I find here is one owl nest about every square mile. So 640 acres, you know, and give or take, you got to have the right habitat. If you had really, really good habitat, lots of really good prey, lots of good nesting platforms, then they would tolerate each other closer. Great grays are fairly tolerant to each other, but if you had horned owls or barred owls, then they would probably spread out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a question about a pair of owls, and then some idiot shoots one of them, and they disappear, the remaining one, and it's gone about a year, and it's back, but there's no mate. Do they mate for life?
Most owls do mate for life,
Yeah.
but they're fairly monogamous, but they will pick up a new mate if they come back. So that's probably what that owl did, was come back. I'm not sure what kind it was, but come back and maybe hope.
It was a great gray.
It was a great
I
gray.
did identify it, yeah. And I watched them for quite a while, and they hung around a little wet meadow like it was alongside of a forest road on my land, and they went over to the gully. It was over on south slopes of Mount Ann,
Okay. Yep.
and you know, we see them around. I see them over on the other side of the valley, on the west side of the valley there, occasionally on fence posts in the evening.
Yeah.
He's flown across in front of me a couple times, but I don't see any. The nest is unused, and there doesn't seem to be any nesting going on.
So likely there's still grays around your place. A lot of the nests, a lot of these natural nests I've shown you in platforms I go back to year after year to see if they're re-nesting. They'll nest in the same nest maybe up to 3 years if it's a really good area, but they'll move on to alternate nests. So if you're patient and that nest stays there, just keep looking at something may nest back in it. But look around too, because this year I went to this nest right here in particular, and nothing was in it, and it's been 2 years, and I'm thinking, what the heck? But I just started looking around, and within 3/4 of a mile, I found what I'm pretty sure is the same female and male from this nest. So they're probably fairly close if that owl paired back up. Thank you.
Move their eyes in their orbit, and that's why they have to twist their head.
That's a good question. I haven't been asked that. I believe they can move their eyes, but yeah, they can turn 360 and then some. It's amazing what their heads can do, and it's something to do with their vertebrae, but it's pretty neat to watch them.
Pilot population fluctuation affect the habitat for the owls?
You know, I don't think coyotes affect them.
Food supply.
Oh, the food supply? There's a lot of, I call them arboreal critters down, underneath the sticks and the logs and stuff, the voles and the gophers, the pocket gophers. I don't think the coyote populations affect them that bad. Yeah.
What is the lifespan, and how many seasons can they, breed? Yeah.
So lifespan, the studies down in Oregon, 12 plus years, for an owl, and then they'll breed. They start breeding. The earliest they've ever tried in the literature is about 2 years, but they're not real successful. So right when they hit 3 is when they'll start breeding. Right around 10 years is kind of their breeding lifespan if everything goes right.
Which owl do we hear nocturnally when you're out hunting and about half hour before dark you hear the hoo 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 hoo?
That's a great horned owl. And Dr. Bone, you're really good at that too. I didn't need to know any more other than the hoot, so yeah, very nice. Dr. Bone brings up a really good point. If you just pay attention and listen to the notes, you can tell right away what the owl is. There's a lot of websites. Cornell Ornithology is a really good one. You type in the name and you click on the species and it'll bring up pictures and audio, and you can click on them and say, yep, that was it, or nope, I'm going to keep searching. And if you would have done a who, Dr. Bone, that sounded like who cooks for you, that would have been the barred owl, but you did a good great horned owl imitation.
Yeah, the beautiful photographs that you have in the presentation, of course, are all taken during daylight hours, and it seems there was a bit of activity. Are they really that active during daylight, or?
No, you're right, they're not. So a lot of these photos, took some time to sit there and get those shots. But when they're nesting, they are active, or at least the male is active, because he's out. He's got to feed the female for that whole, basically 2-month time period. Because for that first month when she's incubating, she won't move for maybe a couple minutes at a time. She'll fly off to defecate and regurgitate pellets, but then she'll come right back to incubate. So that male, he's real active for that 2-month time period between May and June. During the day, because they've got to feed those chicks, but they are primarily nocturnal, right? Yeah, in the back.
Is there any large stands of true, never logged old growth in the Okanagan, in the highlands? Is there any left?
True old growth unlogged? Yeah, there probably is. The north end of Bonaparte Mountain. Down in some draws maybe that equipment couldn't get into, and then the Big Tree Botanical area, we've got those 2 big large trees, and that's our one botanical area that's got some true old growth in it. So yeah, but there's not much left around. So generally what you're seeing is either the dead old growth or second growth timber that's providing that natural platform if it's a broken off top.